Hello everyone, I am Amod and in this video tutorial we are going to learn about object literals in JavaScript. I have already covered built-in JavaScript objects like map and set in previous videos of this playlist. But we know that map and set were introduced in ES6 or ECMAScript 2015. Before that, we had object literals in JavaScript. Even after introducing map and set in ES6, it is not like that we are not using object literals in JavaScript. It is still widely used in many scenarios. So basically in any programming language, data structure is important concept because we may need to store data in different ways like key value pair, or you want to store different types of data together, or you want to store only unique values. So before ES6 in JavaScript we mostly had object literals and arrays, and then in ES6 majorly we have two more, set and map. So let's see basics about object literals first, and then we are going to see a lot of concepts about object literals. So in JavaScript, object literals are used to store data as a key value pair. A map can also store data as a key value pair. So you might be confusing what is the difference between object literals and map. So we have many but major differences. In map we can have keys of any type. It might be string, number, function, object, etc. But in object literals, keys can be either string or symbols, but values can be any type in object literals as well. You can have a function or you can have another object as a value. Object literals maintains insertion order, but it is little tricky. That's why I have put asterisk on this statement. And obviously object literals are also iterable. That means we can iterate objects using keys, values, or as a pair. Now let's understand object literals with examples. So creating an object literal is very simple. We need to start with opening and closing braces, and within this I need to use key and value. So suppose I want to store my data as a key value pair like my name, my address, my mobile number, etc. So to store name, I'm going to use a key like name, and to pass value I need to use colon and then pass the value like this. Similarly, I can have another key to store mobile number. Put the colon and give some numbers. I can also store my marital status. So key will be is married, and I can use a boolean value here. So I will use true. I can store this object literal in a variable which I can declare using const, and then I can give the name like p1. So my object literal is ready. Let me quickly log this p1 on console. Let's run the program, and you can see my object is printed on console. We can extract value of any specific key as well. For that we can use dot operator or square brackets. So console.log, and here we need to use object difference which is p1 dot and pass the key which is name, or we can use p1 then square bracket and give the key in double quotes like mobile number. If you run the program, you can see it is printing the name and mobile number. If you don't give quotes here and run the program, you will get error like mobile number is not defined, because it is looking for a reference variable with name mobile number here. That means if we create any variable with name mobile number, and let me assign a value like is married, and if I run the program now, it is going to give me value of is married. Now these keys will be automatically stored as a string. For example, if I try to add a key in double quotes, so basically I am adding the same key, and let me give value maybe Mahajan, and if I run the program, you can see name is returning Mahajan. So like map, object literals also does not allow duplicates, and when we create object literals like this, JavaScript will convert this name to string like this. That's why when we try to add duplicate key in double quotes, it is not adding it again, but it will replace the value of key. Same thing goes with numbers as well. Like if I use a key like 1 and pass value like 100, and then I will use 1 in double quotes or single quotes, whatever, and assign a value. And if I log this object on console, you can see 1 has a value 200, not 100. Suppose we have a variable, we will let v1 equal to k1, and if you want to add this v1 in the object literal. Then we can do comma, pass the variable name v1, and this variable already has a value k1. So basically don't need to pass any value here. If you save it and run the program, you can see v1 is added with value k1. If you try to add another value, maybe k2. So this will simply replace value of v1 from k1 to k2. Suppose we have another variable p1, and here I am using a value address. So let me use p2. So in this scenario, I want to use p2 as a key. The value of p2 might change as per requirement. So basically I want a dynamic key in my object. For that, I can use square bracket, give the variable name which is p2, and give the value like USA. If you run the program, you can see the key address was added in my object with value USA. If you change the key to address 1, and if you run the program, you can see the key has been updated as address 1. So this way we can handle dynamic property names. And if you want to get the value of p2, you can use p2 in square bracket, or we can use value of p2 which will be address 1 in quotes. If you run the program, you can see value has been extracted for p2 key. So in the slide, I told you that in object literals, keys can be either string or symbol. So what is symbol in JavaScript? So symbol was introduced in ES6, and symbol is unique and immutable primitive data type which can be used to create unique identifiers for object properties just to avoid any conflict. So to create a symbol, I need to use symbol function and we need to pass a value, maybe ID, and we can store this into a reference variable, maybe const sym1. If you log it, then you'll get symbol of ID. But if you want to get the description of symbol, that means whatever we have passed while creating this symbol, for that we can use reference dot description. If you run the program, you can see it is returning ID this time. So this symbol we can use as a key in object literal as well. So let me create a new object, maybe p2, and here I can use this reference as a key. So in this scenario, if you log p2, then it will be stored in the same way which we have just seen. But if you want to use this as a key, then we need to use square bracket. And now you can put a value like 100. Run the program. This time key is symbol of ID and value is 100. If you create another symbol with the same description, let's try to add sim2 this time. So instead of 1, put 2, and let me put 101. So if you run the program, you can see both the keys are added. And to get the value of these symbols, we need to use the same basic approach. P2 with a square bracket, put sym1. Run the program, and this time you can see returning you 100. You can use undefined and null as a key in object literal. For example, I can have a key undefined, put some value, and I can have another key null. Suppose you want to add a function in this object. So I'm going to create a function first. So we have two ways here. Use comma, we can pass the name directly. F1. If you run the program, you can see function has been added here. Or you can use some different name as a key to store function. Maybe F11, and then pass the value f1, which is the function reference. Or we can directly define the function here as well. Maybe let me add a console.log hello. And to access the function, I can use p2.f11, and I need to use parentheses so that function will be called. Run it, you can see it is printing hello. So here we see undefined as well because this function is not returning anything. Even we can have object as a value. Maybe I can create a new key, maybe k1, and I can use another object as a value. Here I will put n1, then pass the value like v1, comma n2, pass the value. So if you want to get the value of n1, then we can use p2 dot k1, then use dot again, and then can go to nested key. Run the program, you will see it is printing v1. Even we can an array as a value. For example, I will have another key k2, and here I am going to have an array. Let me add a value like Amod and another value my husband. So if you want to get this value, then I can use console.log p2.k2, and then I can use index 1 because I want to extract this value which is at first index. Save it and run the program. So you can see it is printing Mahajan. If you try to add any key other than a string or symbol. Then let's see what happens. So I'm going to use an array as a key with value 1, 2, and let me assign some value here. So you can see it is giving error, and if you mouse over it shows some message like a comma expression is not allowed in a computed property name. If I use boolean like true, so here true will be converted to string. This is not boolean. And one basic concept that keys are case sensitive. That means if I try to add a new key with uppercase true, let me simply log p2. So here you can see both keys are added because keys are case sensitive. Now let's understand the insertion order in object literals. So to explain insertion order, I have created one object literal where I have added string, numbers and symbols in this order. If I log p3 on console, you can see it has not returned me in the same order it was inserted. First it is giving me integers, then string keys and then symbol keys. So basically while printing, numeric keys are ordered first in the ascending order. In the console we can see it is giving me 1 and then 10. But here I have added 10 first and then 1. So number keys will be sorted in ascending order. But please understand these numbers are also stored as a string as explained previously. There will not be any sorting for string keys and symbol keys. You can see I have added name followed by address. So it is returning me name and address. Same thing for symbols. First I added department ID, then I added ID. So object literals will order numeric keys first in ascending order. Then it is going to give you string and symbols in the same order it was inserted. Now let's see how can we merge two object literals. So here I have two object literals O1 and O2. I want to merge them. So we can use split operator here. So let me create another object const O3, and in this object I'm going to add properties from both the objects. So use split operator with O1, then comma split operator with O2. If you log O3 on console, you can see it has pairs from both O1 and O2, and the value of job has been overwritten by the second object because first O1 will be added followed by O2. If you reverse the order, then this value will be overwritten by this value as you can see on console. Now let's see how can we iterate object literals in JavaScript, which is little tricky here. So let's try for off loop first, which we have used with map and set previously. So for I'm expecting that a key will be returned, which I can store into a variable maybe k of O3, and let me log console.log k, and then I will also log value of key. So O3 of k. Let's run this program and see what happens. So you can see it is giving type error like O3 is not iterable. But in the slide I told you that string literals are iterable, which is not correct. Actually string literals are enumerable, and there is difference between enumerable and iterable. So for enumerable we need to use for in loop, not of. So for of is basically for iterable. So in JavaScript, iterable and enumerable both are two different concepts, but both are related to accessing objects and its properties. For example, arrays, strings, maps, sets, etc. are iterable, but all the object literals are by default enumerable. So here, instead of for of, which is basically for iterable objects, I need to use for in. Now, if I run the program, you can see it is giving me name and values. We can extract all keys or values or key value pair from this object literal using global object constructor. That means we can call object with capital O, and we have a static function called keys. Pass the object here O3. So this is going to return you one string array with all keys. Then you can apply for each or for of loop here. So let me use for each, and I will use arrow function. So let me use a reference k, and I'm going to log key and its value. Let me comment this for loop. Now run the program. You can see it is printing you key value pair. Similarly, we can use values or entries method. So duplicate these lines and instead of keys use values, and this time it is going to return you only values. So I will remove this statement. Run the program. This time it is printing only values. And obviously we can use entries which will give me key value pair. So instead of values use entries, and here I will have k and v both. Now I can log both k and v. This is giving error because I need to use this array in parentheses. Let me run the program, and this time you can see it is printing key and values both. So as of now in this O3 I have only string keys. Let's try to add a symbol here. And I forgot to cover a very basic concept that if we have any object like this, we can add a new property after creating object literal as well. That means I can use o3 dot key name and pass the value. And if you log this o3, you can see the new key has been added. Now I'm going to add a symbol. So let me create a symbol first, and I would use O3, then in the square bracket pass SYM1 and give the value like 100. If you run it, you can see symbol has been added, and I'm going to uncomment this for in loop. If you run the program, you can see it has not printed key and value for symbol. So the reason behind this behavior is that symbols are not by default enumerable. So symbols are basically designed to have private properties. The behavior will be same with keys, values or entries methods as well. So you might be thinking, is there any way to get symbols during iteration? Yes, we have. So first one, we can use global constructor object, and here we have method get own property symbols. Pass the object which is O3, then you can use the same for each. And if you run the program this time, you can see it is printing only symbol, key and value. So basically this method will give you all the symbols from the object literal. Normal keys will not be returned. By the name only you can understand. But if you want to get all the keys including symbols and normal keys, then we have another way which is called reflect. So basically I can use reflect, and here we have method own keys. You can see the description of this method says returns the string and symbol keys of the own property of an object. Pass the object literal which is O3, and then you can literally use the same code here. Let's run the program, and this time you can see it is printing key and values. Or we can use O3 of k in the first console log itself, and I can remove this. Save it, run the program. Now you can see it is printing key and value in the same line. So that's all in this video. If you have any doubt, please comment on this video. If you really like my videos, please like, comment, subscribe and share with others. Thank you everyone.